So we talked about a special folktale theme where you should never underestimate the little guy. So I thought we'd start with a story like that. It's called Olaf and the Three Goats. Olaf had 3 fine goats. Every morning he drove them up to the pasture on the hillside. All day long the goats frisked and played and nibbled grass. Every night Olaf went up to the pasture to drive his goats home. One night when Olaf was driving his goats home, they were very lively and playful. The biggest goat jumped right over the fence into a turnip field. Then the 2 other goats followed him. Olaf called, "You naughty goats, come back!" But the 3 goats paid no attention at all. They went on frisking and jumping about the turnip field. "You must come home," said Olaf. "The farmer does not want you in his turnip field." But the 3 naughty goats would not come out of the field. Olaf coaxed and scolded and scolded and coaxed. Then he sat down by the roadside and began to cry. As Olaf sat by the roadside crying, a hare came along. "Why are you crying, little boy?" he asked. "I'm crying," said Olaf, "because my 3 naughty goats have jumped into the turnip field and I cannot get them out. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo-hoo." "Don't cry any more, little boy," said the hare. "I will get them out." The hare coaxed and scolded and scolded and coaxed, but he could not get the 3 naughty goats out of the turnip field. Then the hare sat down beside Olaf and began to cry too. As Olaf and the hare sat by the roadside crying, a fox came along. "Why are you crying?" asked the fox. "I am crying," said the hare, "because this boy is crying. And he is crying because he cannot get his naughty goats out of the turnip field." "Cannot get 3 goats out of a turnip field," said the fox. "How silly! I will get them out for him." The fox coaxed and scolded and scolded and coaxed, but the goats would not come out of the turnip field. Then the fox sat down beside the hare and the boy and began to cry too. "Boo-hoo! Boo-hoo!" As the boy and the fox and the hare sat by the roadside crying, along came a wolf. "Why are you crying?" asked the wolf. "I am crying because the hare is crying," said the fox. "And the hare is crying because the boy is crying. And the boy is crying because we cannot get his 3 naughty goats out of the turnip field." "What? He cannot get 3 goats out of a turnip field," said the wolf. "There is nothing very hard about that. I will surely get them out for him." The wolf coaxed and scolded and scolded and coaxed, but the 3 naughty goats would not come out of the turnip field. Then the wolf sat down beside the fox and the hare and the boy and began to cry. "Boo-hoo! Boo-hoo!" By and by, a little bee flew by and saw the wolf, the fox, the hare, and the boy sitting by the roadside crying. "Why are you crying?" the bee asked the wolf. "I am crying because the fox is crying," said the wolf. "And the fox is crying because the hare is crying. And the hare is crying because the little boy is crying because he cannot get his 3 naughty goats out of the turnip field." "Crying will never get the goats out of the turnip field," buzzed the bee. "But I will get them out." "You?" said the wolf and the fox and the hare and the boy all together. "You, little bee, get the goats out of the turnip field when we could not?" And the big wolf and the big fox and the big hare and the big boy all stopped crying long enough to laugh at the little bee. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. But the little bee did not stop to listen. It flew away to the turnip field and it lighted in the ear of the biggest goat. Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. was all it said. And quick as a flash, the biggest goat kicked up its heels and jumped over the fence out of the turnip field. As soon as the other two goats saw the biggest goat jump over the fence, they jumped over too. So all the three goats were out of the turnip field. So we know who solved that problem. And it wasn't the four big people that tried. It was the one little person. Now remember, I'm calling them people, and they weren't all people. But whenever they can talk to each other like that, is that something that real animals do in nature? No, it's not, because this story is fiction, which means it's made up. No story that was in a non-fiction book, a story with facts and information about actual animals, would have them talking to each other and having conversations and laughing and doing things like that. But what I like best is that the little guy saved the day.